Today is Wednesday, the 25th of April, 2018. It's the first edition of what has been titled Crusher's Corner. So I'll let the fire chief tell us a little bit about how this came about, what the intent is, and what we're trying to do here. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you get to see this, if anybody's concerned or interested. And of course, I have a batch of questions for the fire chief that we'll ask and get your candid answers, since he has not, I promise you, has not seen these questions unless he's pilfered through my desk and my files and searched my emails. So anyway, Fire Chief Ray Driscoll, tell us about the show.
All right, thanks, Crusher. Well, first of all, thank you for doing it. So how this came up was when I made all the stations. It took about 5 months to do that. Well, one of the things that was pretty common was communication, lack of communication within the job. And some people who'd been on the job for a while talked about the Headroom show. They liked that to come back, the TFD show. So the more stations that we went to, and we made 105 visits total, it came up pretty regular, of things that, communication and even the Headroom show specifically. So we took this back to the office, and after the first couple of months, I would meet with some of the deputies and some other people to talk about some of the issues that were coming to light. And this one was a reoccurring theme, and so I tasked Chief Clark with trying to come up with something. We didn't know what that would be. It's pretty raw. But one thing that I didn't want to do was just get in front of people and read a script or just inform them. I would rather do that one-on-one. We liked with the Headroom show, we did like the interaction back and forth. Some people didn't like some of the things that were discussed, but in the end, even though people didn't like it, they still watched it, and they were communicated with from communications going down and coming back up. So that was what was kicked around. So I asked them to come up with somebody who could kind of be the person that would kind of put this on. And for whatever reason, your name kept coming up. So,
oh boy.
But we wanted it to be fun, and I'll be frank with you, a lot of the people felt like that when I said, well, we're talking to Crusher about this, and I think I'd approached you about it, you kind of laughed it off. The more people that heard me say, we'll do this episode with Crusher and call it Crusher's Corner, they liked it because they trust you and felt like you wouldn't pull any punches on questions. So we knew that would make it a little bit more original, and that's what's got you here, even though I know you're not particularly happy about this, but we're happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here, believe it or not. Some of the concerns I had, or some of the questions that have been asked, is, first of all, some were even asking, what channel do we tune to watch the show? Well, it's not live. We're not going to do live shows. The internet, I guess, has come along since the Headroom show, which was live and took phone calls. But we're doing a little bit different format with the questions coming in so far to me. I had some questions also about anonymity. How do we stay anonymous if we wish to? And I have made a promise to myself. I guess there's no way to prove the anonymity of it, but the questions are sent to my email, how this has worked. And I've copied and pasted the questions to Word documents. There's no names on these. If you wish to be known, that's fine. If you want follow-up questions or want to talk to the fire chief, I assume you would accept phone calls or to be able to elaborate on some of these. We're not as restricted on time as a TV show was, so we'll have time to listen to the fire chief answer the questions as best he can. But not knowing what questions are coming, some of these are dandies. I do my best not to embarrass you, but you chose me, I didn't choose you, so I won't pull any punches. I'll read the questions like I said. I copied and pasted. It's exactly as written. Some of it's not the best grammar, the best English. I do the best I can with reading how it's written. And we are winging this. for the most part. So I think I rambled a little bit about, or didn't mention, how we're going to watch this. How are our members going to view this? I think we're talking about putting it on YouTube and having a link to the channel, or a link to the website. And we'll email that, I assume, to all fire users, and everybody will have an opportunity to click on the link and view this. How often are the shows going to happen?
We first talked about doing it every quarter, but it's really going to be developed by the people in the field and people who send in questions. I mean, if we don't get questions, I don't know that there's a whole lot for you to ask. And again, I don't want to just come before the group and just sit down and talk about stuff. We're doing that in management skills right now. I did some yesterday. We're doing it again tomorrow. That's going to continue. I hope that this is more interactive and a little bit more fun, to where people can be persuaded to watch.
Okay, well, it's getting ready to get fun.
I'm sure it is.
Getting ready to get real. I've got about 17 questions. Of several are multiple parts to them, and I've tried to like I said, copy and paste, leave them exactly as they were submitted to me, but I don't have names with them. You and I discussed that a little bit, but I think personally, and I could be corrected either by the members or by you if you want, but I think the questions being anonymous is the best thing for soliciting questions. I think people are more inclined to submit questions that are maybe controversial. I don't see any of these as controversial. I don't think anybody intends on blindsiding you with anything that would be embarrassing or inappropriate. But you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to start with number 1. These are also in the order that I received them, chronologically as they came in. I copied, pasted, like I said, created a Word document. But I've also saved in a folder those emails and those questions. So if we need to research, or we have questions for someone that submitted the question, we can still look those up and get back with you if we need to. Number 1, will there ever be a change in the PAT, possibly an age tier system just like the military?
If there is, it would have to go into accordance to what we've got right now. So the PAT that we've got right now was developed by Iowa Solutions even before they were a testing company for us. So I assume that they're talking about, much like what we had years ago in the Royal Canadian Air Force, the physical aspect of it. Is that how you took that question? That depending on how old you are would depend upon what you do?
Yeah, the age tier system. Yeah, the original, I remember the original was broke down by age. Yeah.
Right. Part of the concern that they had then, Iowa Solutions had then, was it was more about the job that you did rather than the age that you were. Even though it didn't matter whether you're in investigations or someone out in the field, everybody was doing the same thing. And so then that was part of their concern. I don't know. I don't know, because I think it's going to have to be validated, first of all. Keep in mind that we're not doing what the pension system says that we should do. We have our own PAT system that was validated by Iowa Solutions, yet it's been accepted by the pension system. Otherwise, we would go by the pension book and do the things that they had in there.
So I heard you say not necessarily age-related, but task-related, or what your job is.
No, I'm saying that's what Iowa Solutions said at the time, that it should be based upon what task you're performing if you want to do it, if you want to have specific criteria. That's been 30 years ago. I don't know if they would still have that same sentiment today. But I will tell you this, the Citizens Panel has been in operation for quite some time. And we did get HR to come up with some money for here within the next couple of months to redo the Citizens Panel. And we're doing that just because we saw some people who are barely squeaking by the Citizens Panel, but when they get to the Chiefs interview, they do really well. So we're going to revamp that. And then if we need to look at the PAT system to see if we need to revamp that and bring that up to date, we can do that as well.
I think they're referring to the current members. So, and I'd like to see it based on your job description would be better. And then the privates would actually have chores to do. And then if you're like at the district chief level, you just get in a car and drive around the course. And
Okay.
See how you do. Can you operate the air conditioner?
Interesting.
Kidding.
I would be
And
interesting. to do.
my job, I'm sure I'd get slammed for this.
I'm here when you.
So you answered that question. Here I've got this little thing. That was great. Is it not going to play? Where's my sound? Oh, when you answer a question correctly or good, I get that. Yeah. And otherwise it might be no, wrong answer.
Not popular.
Not, yeah. I got a whole bunch of these, so hang on. All right, so we'll check that one off. I think you answered that. Number 2, when will the minimum staffing number be increased as was promised to the citizens?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's something that's being discussed right now in negotiations because that's part of what that we spoke with Jack Blair yesterday in the negotiation session. That was the intent, and even though it wasn't spoken of that the minimum staffing number would change, that was the goal, to ensure that we had more people on the trucks. Unfortunately, because it is a negotiated item, it's something that you can't just do. It's got to go through negotiation. So I know that we were supposed to have some things wrapped up by May 1st. I meet with Mr. Blair on Monday, and Tuesday we're going to sit down with the union again and talk specifically about minimum staffing and squads.
So are you for increasing the number then?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't think, personally, I'm not speaking for the union, but I don't see how that can be a sticking point.
Well, the sticking point
everybody would be in favor of upping the staffing.
Right. And so what the city is saying, whether we want to agree with it or not, their stance is, well, money's tight, and so what we'd like to do is leave it here for a year and see what comes from it. Well, if that's the case, then we need to see if that flies, if there's going to be some savings there. Should that not be entitled to the fire department, the firefighters, in some form of compensation or otherwise? But my concern with that is that's not what we told the public when we got them to sign it for the tax. If you hire all these extra people, you hire 60 extra people and you put them out there. If you don't maintain your general fund staff positions, then it's supplanting, which is not where we wanted to be. So to me, you're going to have to increase the minimum staffing accordingly, or at least proportionally to the number of people that you hire.
Supplanting. First time I heard that was recently with the schools issues and the lottery.
Right.
They're supplanting money. Anyway, I digress. Number 3, this is one of those 2-part questions like I talked about. So I broke it down so you can answer one and then we'll move into the next one. But can we start having tools on the truck, axes, Halligans, etc., mounted professionally, or at least order good brackets to mount them instead of just stacking them on top of each other?
So I assume by that question that that's not occurring today, I would assume.
Apparently not on this truck. They've got them stacked in the compartments.
Yeah. Well, I need to visit with Chief Mallory and see. Obviously, the people who install the brackets, the types of brackets that are bought, all of that is done through EMD. It's not done through the fire department. It's one of the things that I really have issue with, that we don't have control of our mechanics. Now, we do have input, obviously, but in the end, we don't have control over the mechanics. But I don't have a good answer for that, other than we need to look into it and see about what the issues are. I mean, he's listed what those are, but we need to, and we're getting ready to get buzzed.
No. I forgot. See, this is how we're going to keep moving on.
Okay.
Oh, that's very good. Okay, next question. Can supplies start picking up bunker gear to be cleaned again?
I don't know how. I don't know how, because of the number of people that we've got and the things that we pushed over on them. I think it's something that we would all want, that they could do that. We have got things that we put in the budget to ask for in the quartermaster system, to take money from the quartermaster to try and help fund a position, someone who can help with bunker gear. Today's Wednesday. We'll find out about our budget tonight at 5 when the mayor presents it. We don't have any idea if it's going to be in there or not. We've asked for someone, but I don't know if we're going to get anyone. I did hear the mayor talk here a few weeks ago that any new positions within this budget are unlikely to be funded, which means it's something that won't occur right away.
And then this isn't on here. I got questions too. And maybe I don't get paid for this, but is there is it a rumor or is it true that there will be a position to help that's a fire department, like an FDO4, is what I'm
Yes.
getting at. It wouldn't be a civilian then,
No,
an FDO4 position.
no.
And what I've heard is to wash bunker gear. You're going to pay somebody to wash bunker gear. Is that?
No, right now it needs to be an FDO4 position because other people really understand why that stuff needs to be cleaned and handled the way that it is. They need to understand the job. A civilian position is not going to get you that. It's going to cause more problems. So it's an FDO4 position that we put in. They're going to clean bunker gear. They're going to pick up, deliver bunker gear, but they're going to do a lot. They're going to do inspections. I know that we're working on an inventory system right now to show a better inventory. We've asked for a lot more inventory, again, in the budget to try and get our bunker gear numbers up where they should
So
be.
the idea is that everybody has an extra set.
The idea, first of all, to have an extra set is $3 million to give everybody 2 sets. And quite frankly, we know that that's not going to occur anytime soon. So the goal is to at least get an inventory up there where it should be, because we're in dire straits. And this is something I presented in our budget in January. And I showed the mayor's office where over a 10-year period, we went from about $450,000 a year on bunker gear to less than $150,000 now. And that's not acceptable. So we asked for $500,000 this year and for the next 4 years. So over 5 years, we're going to try and get the numbers up, get the inventory up. And that would be the ultimate goal, that we could have everybody get a second set. But the exchange program seems to be working. Everything that I'm hearing, people are really happy about that. It's not the optimum system. And when we talk to other departments, there's better systems out there. With the money that we've got right now, this is the best system that we can finance.
Okay, here's a long question. Bear with me. Bear with them. During our visit with Chief Driscoll, Station 2-3 Seepleton, we're not going to name names, but we'll name where and what shift. But that was in their question. 2-3 Seepleton had a major concern regarding the air conditioner not working for the past 10 years on Ladder 2-3. Soon after this meeting, Ladder 2-3 went to the city shop for a major oil leak. The shop had Ladder 2-3 for over 1 month. During this time, the air conditioner was fixed according to the shop. The air conditioner was fixed by an outside vendor. Ladder 2-3 was picked up, and I'm EDI, like I said, I copied and pasted. I'm something taken to the fuel station. While waiting for our turn to get fuel, all the Freon leaked out of the air conditioner unit on Ladder 2-3. This was immediately reported to the shop and Chief Mallory. As of March 3rd, the warranty work for the AC has not been fixed. We have not been told, we have been told by the city shop and Chief Mallory this will be fixed, but we're still waiting. Summer and the hot months are quickly approaching. We need some help.
Yeah, so here, this is near the end of April. Probably about a month ago, Mark Hogan from EMD, runs EMD, come to all the departments and said, you have no outside money anymore, which means anything that we send fire trucks or even chief cars out of the shop to be done won't be done for the rest of this fiscal period. No money. So in cases like this, I don't know all the particulars other than what you just read, but there's no money, at least from this point a month ago. From that point going forward, we don't have any money to send anything out. We've got some trucks that need to go somewhere that are going to have to sit at the garage until they're fixed. So I took that to the mayor's office and said this is unacceptable, and these air conditioners, some of these other things we might be able to deal with, the air conditioners are not. He asked for a list of how many air conditioners needed to be fixed and which ones. I gave him a list of 14 that need to be fixed for $31,000. And I've not heard back whether they're going to try and find the money to make that happen.
This is fun. This will be a good one. You know some of these are going to be controversial.
It's okay.
And that's good. Good. I'm glad it's okay. Here we go. Is it true that district chiefs were first to get... No, let me start all over. I'm sorry. Is it true that district chiefs who were first to get PATs and physicals done got the first picks in the Rook draft?
The last two, yes.
If so, is this really how we measure performance? Also, isn't it the assistant chief's job to draft? And why are we not letting the assistant chiefs do their job?
The assistant chiefs are drafting, and the last time I think I pulled the top 3 district chiefs, or maybe in the top 5, and let them take a pick in the class if they had a vacancy within their district.
Now, hold on. I'm sorry, but you said the top 3 based on the criteria of they had their PATs and their physicals done?
To see where they
How
were
are
in their
you
PATs.
calling them the top 3?
They were the ones who had the most completed, the largest percentage completed at that time. I think the first time was 5, but I don't believe all 5 of those district chiefs had vacancies, and then this last time was 3. When I made the visits out in the field, people asked me about that and said they liked that. They liked that their district chief was getting input into selection of the class. So once those are made, then it does fall back to selections in the class to the assistant chiefs and the deputy chiefs.
So Part B here says, if so, is this really how we measure performance? You are using that criteria to measure performance.
Well, I think to some extent.
When you say the top 3, it's based on they got their PATs and their physicals.
Yeah, I think
more percentage.
Well, and I didn't look at physicals. I only looked at PATs.
Okay.
And again, when we talked about this out in the field, the people that brought this up said they liked that. Their comment was, we like the fact that our district chief can pick people out of the class. But again, it was only the first time I think was 5, and this last time was 3, if they had any vacancies.
So your response to the assistant, isn't it the assistant chief's job to draft? Is that not your thoughts?
No, I think it is. But after that, it should be it is up to the assistant chiefs. But after these for instance, this last class, the top 3, and then it fell to the assistant chiefs. So the assistant chiefs are still involved in that, but it should be the assistant chief, the deputy chief, and the chief of training, because that's the people who really know who these people are. The assistant chief knows what captain he's got, and then obviously the training chief knows the personality of some of these people and where they would fit the best.
I know, this is just my input, I know years ago we were asked as a training staff to basically write our thoughts of what type of captain these individuals should have. And their counselors wrote for their people. Here's, they have a strong personality, they need strong leadership, or they're self-motivated, do things on their own. It seemed like, though, when we did that, they were crumbled up and thrown in the trash, because we had ideas where the openings were, and they never went to where those openings were. So, just my opinion, I know the chief of training has some input on it, and I'm sure he talks to his staff as to who should go where or who makes the picks. But anyway, I think the training staff should have much more input.
I don't disagree. In fact, when I was assistant chief, we would sit down with the deputy chief, Chief Hayes, and the training chief, and he would show us pictures and a short biography of the people. And then the selection would be made based upon that, and then we would pick the captains that were available who had openings to identify where we thought that they would fit the best. And I think that's a good system as well.
I think it's probably hard to place them, though. You can't please everybody.
Well, you can't. And when you look at I looked at the last 3 classes. Of the last 3 classes, other than this one that just came out, 72% of the people are still in the same spot that they came out in when they came out as a rookie. Is that a good number or a bad number? I don't know. Seems good to me that it is. If you got 72% of class in 15, 16, and 17 that they're in the same place, but I think at least we have a good base to kind of watch it and see how that looks going forward. Okay, maybe you understand this question more than I do. I'm just reading what they wrote. How do we plan to implement the cadets from the public safety sales tax out of current class that will not be filling existing open vacancies? Well, that's not the case. In fact, what we had, I think we had 13 vacancies, so let's call them general fund positions. And those general fund positions, I'm talking about the original 676 that we've had for years. So we had 13 vacancies there. There was an idea about how many extra boxes do we put back out there. Extra boxes being how many boxes do we put in each of the districts for each shift. So if there was 30 in this class, then you would put, there was 26. But if you had, say you had 30 in the class, you'd put 10 extra boxes out back there, and that would take care of the cadets. That would be the public safety boxes. But the problem with that is, for me, you need to fill those general fund positions first. Now, yes, they're being paid with the public safety tax, but my fear was that if we didn't fill those general fund positions first, then somebody could come to us and say, hey, how's the public safety tax working? Well, it's working very well. We got all the people we need. Well, no, we don't, because we're going to be light on the general fund side. So to me, you keep taking those positions and we keep backfilling back into the general fund so that when people say, are you where you need to be? Today we can say that we're not, that we're still lagging. And that's the message that I want firefighters to be able to share with counselors or other people within the city. We're still not where we're supposed to be. Yes, we have the public safety tax, and yes, we have extra firefighters, but it's only because we're backfilling from positions from the general fund.
Okay, so this to me kind of relates to what we're talking about. It says, with all the recent academy graduations, will it be possible to get back our sixth man on vacation?
It's in negotiation, and that's looking favorable right now, yes.
Great.
Did we get it?
Let's see. You get, yeah. Where's the deal? How's it work?
You got to get quicker at this.
I know. Very good so far.
Thank you.
Man, I want to use some of these other ones so bad. There's some things.
This is your show.
Yeah. Okay. How do we plan to implement that? How do we as a department avoid getting into financial crunches that disallow functional operating budgets for months out of the fiscal year?
We're going to come up with new funding. We've tried this for years to try and do the same thing that we've been doing ever since I've been on the job, and we're trying to operate with the same amount of money from the same source that we get it from sales tax year after year after year. So there's legislation at the Capitol right now to try and get extra funding through ad valorem and other areas. And we have to continue to push that fight, but it's very, very political because we're trying to get money from an area that we've not got money from before. We have to continue to try and get that in addition to the grants that we get and try and improve some of the things that we do to sure we don't get cut any more than what we already have.
Man, that sounded political to me, but who am I? I'm just Crusher at Crusher's Corner. Why does the department not use dedicated budgets for each department? It seems to be a common pot of funds that gets used inconsistently. In other words, and I know where this came from, so I can elaborate. What the individual was talking about, for instance, is training. We have so much money, and we think we've got so much money, and then we turn around to buy things, and money has been taken from our budget to another budget, and now we have no money. So where it says the department not use dedicated budgets for each department, why doesn't it? And it seems to be common pot of funds that gets used inconsistently.
Are we talking about departments within the fire department or
Yes,
departments
yes.
within the city?
Departments within the fire department, like training will have a budget, maybe rescue will have a budget, and if one runs out, they can transfer money or get money from another, just as simple as a P card or a purchase card, credit card. Use it and charge it to another department.
Yeah, that's going to be that's going to be a lot more difficult now with the new system because everything requires an approval to move it from one area to another. Where before, Janet or the chief of finance could just move the money over because it was within the fire department. You had to get approval from finance, but to do that now, it's going to be a lot more difficult. It's going to involve more people to just make that what seemed like a simple transfer is a lot more complicated today. But it's only because the new system is requiring more oversight.
Okay. Ding. I'm tired of trying to find it. What is the Tulsa Fire Department's vision of our advanced life support program over the next 5 years? And how are we going to retain high quality of service we deliver to our citizens when our ALS members don't feel compensated for their efforts in comparison to neighboring departments?
I tell you, this is one we pulled a group together several months ago, paramedics, some who were in the system and some who had gotten out of the system, to say, tell us where the problem is. And we also involved the union in that meeting too, because we knew it involved compensation, because that would obviously be dealt with in negotiations. And there was a lot of dialogue going back and forth about where we wanted to be. To me, the main issue that I'm hearing is the current system that we've got. If you're a paramedic, is a system, how long you're in the system, can you get out of the system, and all those types of things need to be fixed first. And then when we get that fixed, now we need to look at what it's going to take to try and gather up more paramedics. Now, we've always had the agreement with Dr. Goodloe that we would never go over 100 paramedics. But when I talked to Chief Kelly and Chief Brighton up on the city, they're well over 200, and they don't, quite frankly, give a whole lot of credence to what Dr. Goodloe, his number, but they don't have a number. Yet we're still working under his license. So to me, I would advocate to try and get more paramedics hired here so that we can relieve some of the things that our paramedics are going through, because that's what the paramedics are saying. We'd like to be on a fire truck once in a while. We don't always want to be a paramedic. We don't want to be on a squad and then go to apartment fire because we know we're going to be EMS. Well, we'd like to fight some fire once in a while. We want to be on a red truck. And so I think those are all things that we need to move to, because these folks are unhappy with some of the things that they're having to do, and to leave it where it's at, I just don't think is proper. But first we need to fix the system to make it inviting for people to get there. But in this particular meeting that we had, quite frankly, the union said that they didn't think that the job would support an increase for paramedics if it was, so that's one of those that still needs to be worked out. So there's a lot of tentacles to this, but in the end for me, I want to increase the number of paramedics that we have, but I don't want to just go out there and hire new paramedics. I want to change the system so that it's better, and see if we have people who are on the job now who want to go get their paramedic and move forward and try and get more.
There's some more EMS concerns or questions. This one's kind of lengthy, but I'll put it all together. I understand you're taking questions for the fire chief. Okay. Just recently, a fire company obtained supplies from an EMS vending machine, and they were out of date. Why does this keep occurring? I've asked the EMS chief if the vending machines give them a report on inventory within the machine, and he stated yes. I even informed the fire chief about these occurrences when he made his rounds to the fire stations because they occur regularly. We also have issues with the machines running out of items, and we have to call EMS to get the machines restocked. So the question is, does the field need to monitor the vending machines, or does EMS get a report that someone is supposed to read and make amends as needed?
This came up as one of the things on the project list, and I know that there was an update on the computer software that was supposed to fix it, and right now it's listed as that it's completed and taken care of. If that's not the case, I need to know, and so if anybody knows that that's not the case, and obviously they need to email me and send me something telling me at their particular station that it's not fixed, or that there are items that are out of date.
Okay, here comes phone calls probably.
Good.
What is a realistic timeline for replacing the squads with engines?
Well, first of all, we don't have enough engines. If we wanted to do it today, we don't have enough engines. There needs to be an agreement with the union that they're okay with this, because there's so many of these things through the squad that were negotiated. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue or a roadblock. I think we can come to agreement there. But then the next one would be we need the engines. I think the ideal way to do it, if we decide as an organization that's what we want to do, we take them out one at a time, maybe one a year. But I don't think we just take them out. I mean, if we see engines that are coming, which we should get some, Chief Mallory's working on the engines right now that we should get hopefully next year, then as these engines become available, then I think you could take them out, one a year or whatever that number may be. But the other side of that is we need to look at some of the positions that we lost when we had before we had the squad, some of these captain's positions, because those two, to me, need to be put in there annually so we get those positions back.
Ding. Why are we 4 days into the okay, this is obviously it's many more days now than this says. Why are we 4 days into the testing of TFD not running on sick calls, that's in quotes, sick, and we are still running on sick calls? And why does the EMS chief admit to being aware of it, but it takes an email from me to get him to contact OMD? This was dated 4/4/18. So it's been a few days. I don't know if this has been addressed.
Yeah, I excuse me, I still get a few emails from time to time about The sick calls and those that I get also go to Chief Baker, and we send them to Dr. Goodlow and Jim Wenham and Duffy over at IMSA. So if they're still occurring, we need to know it. I've not got one in, I'd say probably, I know within the last 2 weeks. I know about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I got I think 2. But prior to that, I haven't gotten one in a while. And so if they're still occurring, I know it's trouble, but people need to send those to me so that we can address those. We've already met with Dr. Goodlow and IMSA on 2 separate occasions to talk about these specifically. And then, like I said, when I get them, we send them right over to them so that they can review them and find out why some of these things are occurring. But they've told us that they'll work with us to ensure that we're not going to these calls that we don't need to.
When we came to the stations, you stated, no, when you came to the stations, you stated, we have no problem replacing equipment, just getting new equipment. Wondering how that is going.
State that again.
Chief, when you came to the station, you stated, quote, we have no problem replacing equipment, just getting new equipment. Wondering how that is going.
I'm not sure. Do you have any idea what they're talking about?
No,
I mean,
they
he's got it
didn't
down in
elaborate.
quotes that I said that.
They have no problem replacing equipment, just getting new equipment. I don't know how you replace equipment without getting new. I don't know if they're referring to bunker gear, maybe.
I don't know.
We can't get new bunker gear, but we can get old Roddy stuff. I don't know. I'll look and see who that question is from, and we'll address it maybe on the next show if there is one. On segment 2 of Crusher's Corner. To be continued. Okay, just wondering if we could get more Opticom on city intersections. Seems like this would be a great way to shorten response times, increase the safety of our apparatus and personnel and citizens. It would seem to me that IMSA would need to pay for part of the system to be upgraded/expanded, as they could use it to run without sirens, and only the Opticom emitter turned on to ease their way through traffic. In fact, all branches of emergency response could benefit, including TPD, if their cars were fitted with the emitters.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and you know, we've got it on some, and I think if we had it across the city, job-wide, fire departments that we talk to who have it, they all see it as a huge advantage. It's like everything else. We put that in the budget. Do we put that in the budget and not put other things in there? When you look at our budget from this year, the things that we put in there are real necessities. Not that the Opticom isn't, but to me, the top priority for this budget was bunker gear. And so we got rid of a lot of things to try and help fund bunker gear and show the city that was our priority. So it just depends upon, this is a good idea, and there's a lot of other good ideas. It depends on how far up the priority list we want to push it. But to me right now, the biggest issue this year is bunker gear, and it will be for the next 5 years until we get a good inventory. And I will continue to focus on that to try and get better inventory.
We've been told we're 40 minutes into the show. I know you're probably thinking about watching something else, but man, is it getting ready to get good. What is the plan by the administration for stations without working ice machines to be able to have cool water on the trucks for rehabilitating this fast approaching summer? As a station that needs their ice machine replaced and no money in the budget, as we are told to even buy a plastic bucket, what are we supposed to do? Do those of us at the station need to pony up again out of our own pockets to take, see the tension is building, to take care of ourselves, since it doesn't seem to be a concern for the city or the administration? Ooh.
Well, I can't answer for the city, but I know it's a concern for the administration because in the past this issue was never even addressed. Fire stations went out and bought their ice machines and they paid for them. And it really bothered me when I started making these station visits when I'd look up and see that there was an assessment for an ice machine and the guys were having to make payments for ice machine, and that's what really triggered us to start putting ice machines in the stations and instructing Chief Mallory to tell other stations, if you already have yours, we will start paying for it. again, I take that to the mayor and said, we should have been paying for this all along. And I think we will, and we should in the future. And so we started doing that. There are 2 ice machines that are funded for the budget for next year, and hopefully tonight we'll get those. But it's our goal that every fire station out there will have a ice machine funded by the city and supported by the city.
I haven't been on a fire truck in 17 years, almost 18 years, and you're telling me they've all got ice machines now?
No,
Stations all have ice machines?
No, I don't know that they do, but I think.
But the city bought them. Or that's the plan.
No, but it's my goal that the city should buy every one of them an ice machine.
Yeah.
And those who don't have them, they should at least pay for those being fixed.
Do you remember how we used to make cold water in the ice jugs?
Yeah.
You filled 2-liter bottles and you stuck them in the freezer, and you switched them out at shift change. That's about as sanitary as it gets right there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were, anyway. So I can't believe that's why I was kind of chuckling when I read that question. My gosh, they want ice machines. Fill your daggum 2-liter bottle and freeze it. That's how you get cool water. Sorry.
I'll be looking for a replacement for you next week.
Yeah, that's okay. Anybody else, come on down. You too can be the host. Let's see. Maybe I missed that email, but how are we to view news segments? Will this be on the City of Tulsa local channel or some other channel or link? We kind of addressed that a little bit at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and
we'll email a link, won't we?
Yes, and there's a lot of things that we don't know yet. By doing this, we're going to stumble through it. But
we may view this and erase the whole thing and forget it ever happened. Crusher's Corner. Who said Crusher's Corner? That's nothing. We never did that. We'll see. But hopefully everybody will be notified on how to view this wonderful show. Here's one. Ask the chief why it is necessary to send. I love this question. I've asked this question. We may want to point the camera down to the other end of the table. Ask the chief why it's necessary to send the same email job-wide 3 days in a row. One of the big complaints on why guys don't put their city email on their phones is because of all the emails. It is simple to fix. It is a simple fix to create a group email for just the stations.
Good point. And I think one of the other things that the people had said in the field was that they get these, and I think the ones you're talking about are the ones that are coming from within the department that are being sent to people 3 days in a row. And there's also many that are coming from the city that are sent that has nothing to do with any of us, for outside, say, the City of Tulsa insurance that affects non-sworn people. So I know that Chief Goins have been working on that to try and filter some of those emails so that we don't get those emails that need to be sent to us. And the others, really, we've not had any type of filter to try and have anybody address how many emails are being out there. But it's something that we do need to look at. I know I get plenty of those same things as well. But we're having a problem back on the other side, too, as far as people acknowledging things in their email, and that poses problems. And so things get sent out several times. Not a good excuse, but it's reality.
They do. And the most recent example is this Crusher Corner thing.
Right.
There was 3 of those sent out in 3 days saying, hey, we're getting ready to do the first show, and you can still send your questions in. And I had the same question. Now, I know it was like pulling teeth from somewhere, somebody, that we all finally got our own personal emails. And that happened, 2 years ago, that we've all got our own personal emails. 6 years ago, I mean, God. So I wonder sometimes now why we still are so redundant on our emails. To me, you people out there, you need to check your emails. Read your emails. And if something comes across and you don't get it, that's your fault, in my opinion. But I'll probably get hate mail now because of what I've said, because I know there's members still don't check their email. You know who you are. And it's a pet peeve of mine, because to me it's like going to your mailbox every day. You know, you go to your mailbox every day and pull your mail out of there, or it stacks up. Now, I know there's junk mail in there, but weed through it, throw away the junk mail if you don't want it, but look at it and read the stuff that's important.
You know, I think it's a good point, but in the end, if I would rather have the problem that we're sending out too much stuff rather than not enough, because people can weed through it and they can delete it first. That to me is better than if somebody is not aware of something. But yeah, we need to be more mindful and filter some of those things.
And it doesn't cost anything to send it 3 times, no
Right.
more than it does once. I see your point there. Have you thought about personnel wearing shorts on duty, maybe during time change, like spring forward to fall back period? In other words, summertime, I guess. And any plans to move the memorial fountain from Old Station 22 to 15th Street 22's station? Funded, designed, and dedicated by our first fire chief, R.C. Halder. 2 separate questions. Stick with the first one. Get to wear shorts.
You know,
See me in
I've
shorts,
heard that
Chief?
before. And, you know, and I don't have issues if people make suggestions like this. I was talking to somebody here yesterday about, it wasn't that long ago, 30, 33 years ago, that even within the
It's
fire
not
department
that long
that we
ago,
got, well, but in the fire department it's not.
No, it's not.
But you may remember that it was identified in the fall and the spring whether you could wear long sleeve or short sleeve. That was identified, among other things. And, you know, we got rid of all that stuff. But when you're talking about shorts and the time that you can wear them, we need to bring the union to the table because they, like us, have a safety concern about if you're wearing shorts. Well, the obvious conversation then would be, well, we're going to put our bunker gear on. You know, it's the same conversation that we had when I really wanted to use dry fit stuff. So the guys, when they run and exercise and work out, people were very adamant, no, because this is what it can do. Well, take that shirt off and put on a cotton one and put your bunker gear on. But I just didn't see any sense. When I see other departments out on the West Coast or East Coast, you pick, and they're wearing dry fit stuff to keep them cool. So if this is something that the department wants to move to, as long as the management and the union are in agreement to it, I don't have any problem moving forward with it if that's what they want. But we need to decide as an organization, is that what we want, all of us, rather than just a few people say, hey, this is a good idea.
Well, that's why
It needs
I
to be
asked, do you
consistent.
really want to see me in shorts? Or
I do not want to see you in shorts, no,
Okay.
if you're asking me. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure others might.
Because we can turn that camera off right now.
That's pretty morbid if they do, but I mean, that's between you and them if they want to see me in
Okay.
shorts.
Do we still have a uniform committee?
Yes.
Is it moving, doing anything, or is that something that could be
yes,
addressed?
they're still.
Or recommendations sent through them?
Yeah, I think it could be a recommendation to them. So whoever sent this, they may, I think Chief Clark is involved in that. You might have them just send an email to him about this proposal.
Okay, what about the memorial fountain from Old Station 22? You know what they're talking about, right?
Yes,
Three-tier.
and the last time that this came up, I visited with Mark Hogan and Thomas Chandler. The issues that they had was trying to find something that was strong enough to pick it up without tearing it up. That was the issue because apparently this thing is extremely heavy. They've looked at the research into it, found out about what they think it weighs. It's several tons. And their concern at the time was, can we pull this whole thing out without tearing it up? And then I don't think anything ever moved forward from that. But I agree. I would like to see it somewhere.
I thought it was
Fire department
3-tiered. I would think it would be in sections, but right now it's a planter, I believe,
Yeah.
instead of a fountain.
Yeah,
It's full of dirt. That'd be my first recommendation. Take the dirt out.
Yeah.
Might make it lighter.
Well,
Then they can pick it up.
I suspect the dirt's going to be the least of the weight that they're going to have. But and it was several tons that they had told me that that was their concern, was how they were going to do it without tearing it out.
Do we still, who has the fountain that was at old headquarters that was given to us by the Bomberos?
San Luis Potosi?
Yeah, San Luis Potosi
Yes.
gave us a fountain.
I don't know, but I think it's at Supply. I think that they've got it crated up out there and protected.
I don't know if that fountain or the one at 22's would be something for the museum or not.
Well, even the museum or new fire station, you know, when you build anything within the city, I think it's 1% or 0.5% of the money has to go toward artwork.
Right.
Now-
Yeah, have you seen our giraffe out here at the fire station? I mean, the fire. Yeah,
No,
that's what it looks like. I don't know. supposed to be flames or fire. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Out here at the front gate, it looks like a giraffe. I think it's
you're
supposed to
talking
be
about your
flames.
artwork?
Yes.
Yes.
Here at Station 101.
Yes.
That's our artwork. I don't know what it is. And I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny. If anybody can enlighten me in the audience over here, what is it? Do you know, Chief?
I don't know. And I tell you, for Station 33, we've asked for some students brought us out last September and showed us at Tulsa Technology. They showed us the Twin Towers that they had built out there. Some of the students, that was their project. And so once they got it built, they brought us out to show us what they had done. And so now that we're building Station 33, we're going to start breaking the ground hopefully by the end of this year. I've asked, can we take that money and donate it to Tulsa Tech and have those students build something that's, I think, would be a little bit more conducive to the fire department, and something that we would have for students right here in Tulsa to put it together. So they're having that discussion right now. I think there are some issues with some of the arts folks about doing something like that. But to me, you got kids that are going to build something that will represent the fire department. I think that would be a good thing.
Next time you folks come out to the training center, take a look at the giraffe as you pull in, and maybe we'll have a picture of it on the next show to see what. I think there's a plaque out there. I never have got myself out of my car and read the plaque, but
We can tell that.
it says thanks.
That's all it is.
Thanks. Oh, game gloves off, game on, huh? Here we are winding down now, and we're going to take pot shots at the host of the show. Anyway, the artwork, there's some other stations that have some strange things, but it's all good. I guess, like you said, I knew there was a percentage that went towards artwork for every new station. When are we getting a new station?
We hope to break ground at the end of this year. Once they do break ground, it'll take 2 years after that to build it.
And it's where?
It's at 13400 East 41st Street.
Okay. So that'll take some of the calls off of 30s. 27s.
Yes.
As well. I heard 30s calls are up tremendously to what they used to be.
Right.
And I don't know time frame wise when it used to be, when that transitioned, but I've heard they make a lot of calls now compared to my day.
Well, there's a lot of building that's
Slow
going on
station.
out there, 51st to 41st from 193rd in. There's a nursing home out there now and a lot of houses, so, and their insurance rate right now, they're sitting at a 9. Everybody else is sitting at a 2. So until that fire station's built, they won't change from a 9.
2 being,
1 being the best.
1 being the best.
10
so
being the
that's
worst.
the ISO rating that we
Right.
hear so much about, what
Yes.
we're trying to improve on through all the training that we do.
Yes.
That's all the questions. We made it through in a whopping 1 hour. How long did we go? I appreciate everybody if you watched the show. Thank you. I appreciate all the questions. Write more if you want to see more, and we'll have shows on an as-needed basis.
I think Chief Clark originally mentioned that we do it every quarter, but we can do it less frequent or more frequent depending on what the demand is.
And feel free, if you don't have questions for the fire chief, send me an email and let me know what you think about the show. If we need to just quit this right now or have another one or do it different, you want to see us in shorts, whatever, give us some input and let us know. That's all I have. All right, great job. Thanks for answering questions.
Yep, thank you, Treasurer.
There was a lot more dings than there were other items I had to play, so it's a good thing we didn't get there. Have a good evening, day, morning, whatever it is. Safe shift. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Have a good day.